Good morning. Honored guests, conference organizers, conference sponsors, and delegates, thank you for the invitation to speak. It's wonderful to be here. I look forward to hearing more about your SUS and education programs and sharing my knowledge of environmental education and wildlife conservation. I anticipate we will learn a lot from each other that we can apply in our work. This morning I'm going to speak on awakening joy and curiosity at our zoos. I will share information about how children learn through play, the different types and forms of play, how adults and educators facilitate learning through play, using environmental education to engage children, and how zoos are using play and environmental education to awaken joy and curiosity in their young visitors. According to an article by Gutierrez and Fernandez, visitors have more positive perceptions and behaviors about zoos, their animals, and conservation initiatives the more they interact with animals, natural exhibits, and zoo programming staff. A 2008 survey conducted by the Association of Zoos and Aquarium estimated over 700 million people visited zoos and aquariums that year. Over 300 million of those visitors were to Asian zoos and aquariums. The same article indicates zoos and aquariums spent over $350 million on wildlife conservation. And that study is already over 10 years old, so I assume these numbers have increased since then. Considering these numbers, most of us would agree that zoos play a major role in wildlife conservation and education worldwide. This is my grandchild who lives in Japan. His name is Leaf. Our experience with zoos usually begins at a young age. Most of us visited zoos for the first time as children. In most cases, we were so young, we may not remember our first visit. But those childhood experiences help shape who we are. The first time I remember visiting a zoo was when I was 6 years old. It was a full-day family adventure to the Bronx Zoo. That day I saw live elephants, tigers, giraffes, hippos, monkeys, and many other wild animals for the first time. It was a joyful occasion that sparked my curiosity about animals. That early experience at the zoo, so many years ago, probably kindled my love of nature, which still burns within me today. What is your earliest memory of visiting a zoo? How old were you? Who was with you? What did you see? What did you feel? I'd like you to now take a couple of minutes to just speak to someone near you about those early memories and what you remember. Think about these questions. So just take a couple of minutes with the person next to you and just talk about some of those early experiences. Great. I expect that most of those experiences, those memories are positive memories. And probably were some of your most earliest experience with animals in your life. According to the Association of Zoos and Aquariums in the United States of America, 69% of the parties visiting their member sites included children, and 57% of those children were 11 years old or younger. Because children comprise such a large proportion of our zoo visitors, we should ensure our zoos are child-friendly. To do that, we need to understand children and how they learn. According to theorists, play helps children learn about themselves, how to interact socially with others, know the world around them, and it sets the foundation for later learning. Vygotsky states that play contains, too far ahead of myself. Vygotsky states that play contains all developmental tendencies in a condensed form and is itself a major source of development. In other words, play is learning. Children love playing. It is such an inborn part of their being that even without toys and in the middle of armed conflicts, children will play. Research indicates that play is essential for proper development. It promotes cognitive, physical, and emotional development. The United Nations High Commission on Human Rights recognized play as a fundamental right of every child. In the research summary, The Power of Play, it states that play helps children to learn how to regulate their behavior, lay the foundation for learning in science and mathematics, figure out complex negotiations of social relationships, build a repertoire for creative problem-solving skills, and more. But what is play? We can recognize it when we see it, but it's difficult to define. That's because play is a complex behavior that isn't easily described by a few words. Play advocate Stuart Brown states play is anything that spontaneously is done for its own sake. Miller and Ullman say that play includes activities that are freely chosen and directed by children and arise from intrinsic motivation. A description of play would include play is pleasurable. Children must enjoy the activity or it is not play. Play is intrinsically motivated. Children engage in play simply for the satisfaction and behavior itself it brings. It has no extrinsically motivated function or goal. Play is process-oriented. When children play, the means are more important than the ends. Play is freely chosen. It is spontaneous and voluntary. If a child is pressured, he or she will likely not think of the activity as play. Play is actively engaged. Players must be physically and or mentally involved in the activity. Play is non-literal. It involves make-believe. So just to review those 6 items, play is pleasurable, intrinsically motivated, process-oriented, freely chosen, actively engaged, and non-literal. Play can be divided into several types. They include social play, object play, pretend play, physical play, and media play. Social play is described as play with adults and other children. Object play is playing with things, blocks. I remember my grandchildren, the thing they loved to play with the most were pots and pans. Pretend play is play that is make-believe. My grandson and I used to grab a banana, take a banana each, and we'd speak on the telephone to each other. The banana became the telephone, and we were pretending to speak on the telephone. Physical play is playful movements such as kicking, running, jumping, chasing, and climbing. Media is playing on phones, tablets, notebooks, and similar devices. This is a more recent type of play which is becoming a bigger part of children's lives. It's estimated that children under 3 years of age spend about 3 to 4 hours per day on devices. By 8 years of age, the amount of screen time increases to about 7.5 hours per day. Research on media is relatively new, but general results are that interactive technology can be a valuable tool in promoting playful learning. This includes computer and video games. Play can be free or guided. In free play, the play is completely self-directed by the child, while guided play is when adults, such as parents and educators, take a role in children's play. In guided play, adults can enrich the child's environment by providing objects or experiences that promote learning. Adults can also become a co-player and ask thoughtful questions, comment on children's discoveries, and encourage further exploration. Both free and guided play are important. Intrinsically motivated free play provides the child with true autonomy, while guided play is an avenue through which parents and educators can provide more targeted learning experiences. In either case, play should be actively engaged, it should be predominantly child-directed, and it must be fun. An abundance of research and theory suggests children gain maximum benefits of playful learning experiences when adult partners facilitate. It's been shown that guided play is more beneficial to children's learning than direct instruction. Let me repeat that. Guided play is more beneficial to children's learning than direct instruction. Adults can take on different roles in guided play. They can be an onlooker. As an onlooker, adults observe children from nearby. They make an occasional comment. and they do not enhance or disrupt the play. Observation can help the adult to understand children's play habits, and in turn to know when they need to intervene with one or more involved forms of play described next. As stage managers, adults do not directly take part in play. Adults help children set the stage for various activities and help when asked, for example, get materials or make a costume. A stage manager may also propose extensions to a play scenario, for example, offer a new obstacle or thing to do. Children are free to follow or ignore the suggestions as they please. As a co-player, adults participate in play activities. Adults take on small supporting roles while the child takes the lead. Adults might suggest ways to extend play and often model play skills for the child, such as sharing and role-playing. As play leader, adults actively guide children's play from within the activity. Play leaders aim to enrich and extend play by suggesting new themes, props, or plot twists to the current scenario. The quality of adult participation in guided play is critical to successful learning. If adults become too bossy or don't listen to the child's needs, the child will lose interest and stop playing. Research on adults' roles in guided play suggests that they need to be sensitive to the child's needs in the moment. Be flexible in choosing the way they intervene, and be willing to follow the child's lead. Again, as an example from my grandson, we would be playing something and all of a sudden he'd change the rules. And inside myself was saying, you can't do that, you shouldn't be changing the rules. But, you know, if you're sensitive to the child in the moment, you just go with it. So the rules change. Again, the end of the game is not important, it's the process that's going on. Because environmental education offers a variety of creative and fun techniques to engage children, it's an ideal way for children to discover the wonder of nature and wild animals at our zoos. Let's listen to a short video on environmental education.
But the foundation of the field can be traced back to a definition crafted at the very first international conference focused on environmental education. Bringing together leaders from 66 countries, it was held in Tbilisi, Georgia in 1977. The Tbilisi Declaration defines environmental education as a learning process that increases people's knowledge and awareness about the environment and its associated challenges, develops the necessary skills and expertise to address the challenges, and fosters attitudes, motivations, and commitments to make informed decisions and take responsible action. Now, there is a lot to unpack in this definition. First, EE is a learning process that is focused on lifelong learning, starting in the earliest years and continuing throughout our lives. It is about engaging individuals as well as communities and organizations. EE increases knowledge about the environment and the social and economic issues that influence both the health of the environment and our quality of life. It is about everything from natural resources like clean air and clean water to healthy food and healthy communities. And with knowledge also comes awareness about threats to the environment, the decisions we make that lead to environmental degradation, and global challenges like climate change and overfishing. But knowing about or being aware of environmental issues and their impact on the quality of life isn't enough. We need skills to solve problems. EE empowers people by giving them the tools and practice to take informed action. also influences attitudes, the values and assumptions underlying our behavior. Finally, EE motivates people to take action, protect our natural resources, and create a more just and sustainable future for all. In short, environmental education has the power to transform lives and society. It is a critical tool in expanding the environmental movement and creating healthier and more civically engaged communities.
So participating in environmental education programs is an ideal way for children to discover the wonder of nature. Through environmental education at our zoos, children can learn about wild animals in fun and engaging ways, and as they get older, develop action skills to help protect threatened and endangered species. Now that we know more about children, how they learn, how they play, and environmental education, let's see how some zoos are using this knowledge. The following zoos were identified in a recent article, in an online article titled "The Best Zoos for Our Kids." One of them was the Bronx Zoo in New York City, and under its children and family experiences, it has 14 different activities that for children and their parents. It includes things like Nature Club, and this is a free activity where children can actually come to the zoo and participate in a variety of fun activities. There's another one this is a paid program called Junior Zookeepers, where they actually interact with a zookeeper and learn how the animals are taken care of. There's another program where children can learn how exhibits are made. There's another one where children and their families can come early to the zoo and get an early morning experience at the zoo. Another one where enrichment, the children learn how to make the toys for the animals so that they keep the animals stimulated and engaged. There's also a stroller safari in the early morning for parents with their young children. Under the camp setting, they have summer camp, Little Zoo Vets, where 3 to 5 years old learn how to take care of the animals at the zoo. They have a Zoo Vet Academy for 6 to 8 grades, and there's where they learn more about looking after the animals. They have a toddler camp where they learn about the different foods that the animals eat, and that's for grades 2 and 3. The Houston Zoo has family nature experiences and a camp safari. North Carolina Zoo has created some special areas. For example, this picture depicts a couple of children playing in their stream, so the children can actually go in and explore the stream and look at the water and play in the water. And as more and more children live in urban areas, they don't often get these kinds of outdoor opportunities anymore. So the zoo is providing this opportunity to play outside. They also have an area behind the zoo where kids can go and make things, especially build forts and enclosures and things like that in a more natural setting. The Pittsburgh Zoo has a variety of activities for different ages, just like the Bronx Zoo. So they have story time for infants 5 years old, zoo tots ages 2 and 3, zoo kids ages 4 and 5. And I think what's important about these different kinds of activities is that they're developmentally appropriate. You know, what a 2 and 3-year-old can do is different from what a 4 and 5-year-old can do. And your program has to be developed in a way that it addresses those developmental stages. The San Antonio Zoo offers a variety of behind-the-scenes activities, so you can go behind the scenes with a rhino and learn about rhinos and how they're looked after. You can learn more about flamingos. You can learn more about tortoises. They have a carousel ride that's made of animals from the zoo. There's a place where a lorry landing where you can actually, birds will actually land on your shoulders. They also have zoo after hour activities, so children come and they can stay in the zoo and they do a variety of activities and sleep at the zoo that night with the wild animals. They also have a nature-based preschool for children, so that young children can come to the zoo, spend the day at the zoo, and basically be involved in a lot of varieties that help them play and learn about animals at the zoo. The San Diego Zoo has a couple of play areas that are specifically designed with some animal themes in mind. There's a play area near the elephant exhibit where children can climb and do things and learn some more about elephants. And there's also something called a koala climber where they can actually climb up into a tree. And there's a model of a koala there, and they can get their pictures taken with the koala, the model of the koala. The Tampa Zoo does up close and signature encounters, so African and penguin backstage, and something with a tortoise encounter. And again, some of these are free, but most of them are paid activities where the visitor actually pays an additional amount to participate in these activities. Now this next one is called the Hamill Family Zoo at the Brookfield Zoo in Illinois. And this is an area that was specifically built to help children learn through play. As you watch this video, see if you can spot different types and forms of play and whether the play is free or guided. So these child-friendly zoos feature up-close animal encounters, behind-the-scene tours, different ways to interact with animals such as feeding, touching, holding, fun educational activities such as talks at exhibits, story times, rides, sleepovers, preschool, day camps, field trips, and special areas for different types of play. Many of the zoos are also parent-friendly. They offer places for parents to relax, shaded areas with benches from which they can watch their children play, and other conveniences that make it easier for them to be at the zoo with their children. Child-friendly zoos create many opportunities for children to learn through play. They offer facilities and programs based on children's needs, well-maintained natural exhibits, healthy animals, well-kept grounds that are easy to navigate, and educators and other staff who understand children and know the importance of play for learning. Zoos that offer these things are sure to awaken joy and curiosity in their child visitors. So let's ensure all our zoos are playful places for children to learn. Thank you. If you like some resources that I've used to put this presentation together, I'd be happy to share them with you. Just send me an email asking for the list. Some of the things on the resource list include that research summary, The Power of Play, website for the North American Association for Environmental Education, where that video about environmental education is located. The Natural Alliance Promoting Early Childhood Environmental Education website, an organization, and NAAE Guidelines for Excellence, Early Childhood Environmental Education Programs, Guidelines for Excellence. So, if you're working with young children, that's a very useful document to have because it provides a fairly comprehensive list of the things that you need to consider when designing programs for young children. It's not necessarily that you need to do all of those things, but at least it brings it up so you can see them. I don't know if we have time for questions, but...
Yes, we have time for one question. Does anyone want to ask anything to Dr. Medina right now? Yes, you go.
Thank you for your very nice presentation. Thank you. So, if you would like, if you know, would you suggest which the best zoo programs for kids in Asia region?
In Asia?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. So we make up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Medina.